Seattle 4 member Jonelle Johnson is going to join us both to introduce today's main speaker, but also to participate in today's program. So let me go ahead and pass the baton over to Jonelle.
Well, thank you, President Jeff. I am thrilled to introduce Erik Nordstrom today. Erik began his career in the stockroom of downtown Seattle Nordstrom store in 1979. He worked as a salesperson in the shoe department through high school and college. And after graduating from the University of Washington, Erik had held numerous positions throughout the company, including buying and regional management, before becoming co-president in 2015 and then chief executive officer in 2020. From 2000 to 2014, Erik was president of the full line stores. And from 2014 to 2016, he directly supported Nordstrom.com. In his current role, he supports the company's full line businesses, off-price businesses, finance, technology, legal, strategy, and its digital properties, which include Nordstrom.com and NordstromRack.com. Since Erik and his brothers took over the leadership of Nordstrom in 2000, the business has grown from $5.1 billion to $15.5 billion and has increased the number of stores from 115 to over 350. The brothers took the company international in 2014 with the first Nordstrom store in Canada, and most recently opened its first full-line store in New York City. Erik has served on the Nordstrom Board of Directors since 2006. So please, fellow Rotarians, join me in welcoming Erik Nordstrom.
Thank you, Jonelle. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. It's great to be here.
So today we're going to cover the topic of disruptive change in retail, from the pandemic to the future. And Erik, you know, it's no secret that Nordstrom has been a model leader for service and customer service, not only in our local community, but businesses across the company have always tried to duplicate the customer service that Nordstrom has extended to customers. So we know it's in Nordstrom, in the Nordstrom DNA. So can you tell us, how did that first start, the customer service and serving of customers? And how has Nordstrom to be able to keep it alive all these years?
Well, there's not, I think, a particularly great story on that. I think it's pretty common to, not just the entrepreneurial experience that can be fairly common, but I think the immigrant experience in this country in particular. My great-grandfather came to this country and didn't have much education or any hireable skills to speak of, and after getting some money from the gold rush up in the Yukon, he opened a shoe store with a friend of his, and it's really, to hear my family members talk about it, it's the focus on the customer is really out of survival. How do you make it, especially as when the odds are against you? And I do think that experience is very important certainly to our family and to our company. I was just right before this call was on a call that one of our employee resource groups hosted. It was around immigration, and it's very much alive in our company, that spirit of looking for opportunity and to make a difference in the business, and taking care of the customer is. When you're in retail is pretty clearly what makes the biggest difference to our reputation, therefore our success. And from that, I think through the years, what quickly got associated was, if we're to be a great place for customers, first first and foremost, we got to be a great place to work. And so for us, that's the respect for customers is very connected to being a respectful place to everyone who works here. And I think that focus on workplace, and we're far from perfect on it, but I think that spirit has served us well in keeping a focus on customers.
Well, it certainly has served Nordstrom well, that's for sure. How do you think about Nordstrom's presence in Seattle and your role in supporting the city?
Well, some of you may know members of my family, in particular my dad. Loyalty is a big subject, particularly to my dad, and growing up was something he talked a lot about, and in particular, loyalty to your hometown, loyalty to your school. A lot of us went to the University of Washington, and I think a lot of it comes from that. There's a practical aspect. It's our headquarters, and I think our most important store is in downtown Seattle, and that's a big part. But more so, it's and also I don't need to tell Rotarians, you all are here because you have some spirit of giving back and making our community better. And I think it's a natural extension to want to do what you can to help out your hometown.
Well, it's we all know that last year with the pandemic, all businesses have suffered, and downtown Seattle just isn't what it used to be. How can other businesses partner to help with the recovery of downtown Seattle?
Yeah, I'm glad that question comes up. I think a lot about it, and we have, over the years, downtowns, and we have lots of store locations and a handful in downtowns. Downtowns are different, certainly different than a mall. They're fragile, but their fragility and what's organic about cities, the diversity, the elements that come together that are not controlled by a developer or one entity, is what makes it interesting. So I would say first and foremost to recognize the fragility of a downtown, and downtown Seattle in this case, and the importance of it. I certainly believe that downtown Seattle is the economic engine that drives the region, and its health is really important to us all, whether you live and work downtown or not. Secondly, I would encourage you all to talk about downtown, and in particular, clarify misperceptions. I get a lot of that. I get a lot of questions about downtown. You may all have had, during the occupation on Capitol Hill, particularly would get questions from people out of town with all sorts of misperceptions about what's happening citywide, and it's I think to counter those misperceptions is important. Thirdly, I'd say downtowns benefit mostly from people, from activity, people who live there, people who work there, people who come down for events, to go out to eat. Activity is going to be the best medicine to improve downtown. And I would also certainly encourage anyone to be engaged, and first and foremost to vote, to participate in local government is, whatever your feelings are, is important. I guess lastly, I'd want to leave you all with it. Downtown Seattle, while you walk the streets right now and it's pretty quiet, it is a moment in time. You have this moment where you take out most of the workers and you take out most of the tourism. That hurts any downtown, and we see that across the country where we have stores in downtowns. Downtown Seattle has so much going for it, and I think it's important that we keep that in perspective, that we're in this moment of time, But I certainly believe a lot of what's tough about downtown Seattle right now is a moment in time, and we'll get better as activity returns.
Thanks, Eric. You know, with the pandemic last year, we certainly know that people have been working from home and shopping patterns have changed. How has COVID-19 changed the way customers are shopping?
A lot. It changed a lot, but for the most part, their acceleration of changes that have been in place for a few years now. Certainly, the shift to more e-commerce, less store business has been in place for quite a number of years. But even outside of that, how a customer discovers new product, views it, wants that purchase delivered, how they want to do the returns. There is more digital touch points in there, even if it and often does include physical touch points as well. So there is a need for us, as I think any retailer, to advance our digital capabilities. That not only is our website a great website, but these digital tools that help connect the digital and the physical is very important. And things like, in particular, services like buy online, pick up in store, curbside services, those things are more important than ever, and they've been important for a while. So we've really looked to focus on, in most cases, things we had in place already, but we needed to narrow our focus and accelerate our progress. And you know, I'll give you just a quick data point where we're at. We're through all last year, over half of our business now is done online. So we are a majority digital business, and that, for a company that's 120 years old and starting as a little shoe store in downtown Seattle, that's a big mind shift for us to make sure we're prioritizing investing accordingly.
Well, now I'd like to go back a little more back to customer service, because we know that Nordstrom is the model company for that. And with the Nordstrom customer service has always been based on one-on-one approach of the salesperson to the customer. How do you see that changing in the digital age?
Well, again, I think those changes have been in place for quite some time. You know, if you define that one-on-one service as, you know, between a salesperson and a customer in a Nordstrom full-line store, that's still super important, but it's far from the majority of our business. It's we often cringe a bit at when we get put in the category of being a mall-based department store. Our mall-based Nordstrom department store business, it's under 30% of our business. Between our Nordstrom Rack business and our digital business, that is the majority of our business. So we have all these touch points that Nordstrom service and the reputation that I think a lot of our people have helped establish over the years. We need to translate that to wherever and however the customer wants to shop. I do think still the store experience and that person that a customer comes in contact with is probably the most impactful encounter we have in defining our reputation for service. But we need to have a lot more plays we can run than having a great stylist who has a 3-hour appointment with a customer. Not every customer wants that or wants that in every journey. So in general, I would say the customer's in more control than ever and wants to control their journey and all touch points in the journey. So we need to be able to service the customer where they are. So things like for our salespeople, we work on remote selling. How do you sell to someone who's not physically right in front of you? We have a tool called Style Boards, which basically allows a salesperson to construct their own web page, personalized for a customer, and send it out to a customer. But even in less kind of high touch encounters, we do believe there's a common thread that fits our brand, which is humanity, authenticity in these touch points. Even if it's a digital experience, I think that is our opportunity and where we should win, not just on the pure transactional efficiency that defines a lot of e-commerce. We need to do that too, but we need to bring the human experience to it. And I think for a lot of our customers, I think in Nordstrom, they do think of their favorite salesperson, even if they're engaging online. So for us, that means a lot of things. I think part of it is bringing personalization to scale, and curating what a customer sees, not always from having a salesperson do that, but from having the data we have of our customers of knowing what to put in front of them.
Well, Erik, we have our last question. It's kind of a two-pronged question, and then we'll move into some questions and answers, if you don't mind, from our chat. But you know, everyone is excited about the new normal coming, and we're hoping, keeping our fingers crossed, that it's going to be right around the corner. And as we approach the new normal, how will retail look different? And what do you think about the future of shopping centers and the role of brick and mortar stores?
I think one of the fundamental changes, just on how we need to view our business. When business was done almost purely through stores, it was simpler. We had less businesses, and our main performance metric could be sales per square foot. How much productivity are we getting of a sale out of the space we have? That's changed a lot, and it's really less about looking at any one specific transaction, but looking at engagement. Engagement, really almost any engagement for us with a customer is good. It leads to more customer return trips. It leads to higher lifetime value out of customers. That engagement could be browsing online. It could be doing a return somewhere. It could be shopping in a rack store or a full line store. And it's important for us to value that, not again what happens in that transaction, but overall. And digital capabilities have changed that a lot. So for our stores, it's just not about the sales that, for instance, that go out the front door, a sale. It is the sales that go out through the back door from us leveraging the inventory we have in the store to fill an online order, from using our stores as for convenience of pickup and return points, from finding ways to leverage our great salespeople outside of just a store, about how do we leverage them through digital means. So it's a lot of what we're looking at, and we really look at.
But that's about it.
What? I was just gonna say we look at our business through assets. And what assets can we bring to bear to help customers? There's digital assets, there's physical assets, and really within a market. So in Seattle, we have Nordstrom stores, we have Nordstrom Rack stores, we have our digital assets, we have the people and the product that are in those stores, and how can we leverage those to really deliver a better customer experience.
Okay, Erik. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us a peek at what's going on at Nordstrom and also with retail in general. I'm now going to turn it over to John Steckler. He will help monitor the questions in the chat. And thank you again, and hopefully you'll stay with us to answer some questions from our chat. Thank you.
Thanks, Jill. Good job.
Thank you, Eric. Boy, I got to tell you, before I get into the questions, we have lots of speakers every week, fantastic people like yourself. And what's interesting about the questions today, I got to say, over half of the comments I have here aren't questions. They are stories of accolades to Nordstrom, to the brand, to stories they want to share that date back to their early childhoods, to their grandparents. It is amazing how much Nordstrom has touched people beyond just a retailer who sells them products or services. That's pretty darned amazing. I'm sure you know it already, but I just see it here on the chat board. But I have been collecting some questions for you, but I had to tell you that up front. I'm sure you would love to hear that. So hey, here's some very pointed little questions. I like this is a good one. What is the likelihood that Nordstrom goes back to a private company? Do the benefits of being publicly traded outweigh the negatives imposed by the SEC, regulatory compliance, and all those issues?
Well, I mean, we haven't been a private company since the early 70s, so that's a long time. And being a public company has served us really, really well. It's given us the capital we needed to expand. We would not be the company we are today if we weren't a public company. We get asked that now and then because our family still owns a decent chunk of the company. And my answer though is, and this is very genuine for me and Pete and our cousin Jamie. Our only goal is to have the place be as good as it can be, to be great. And there's no family agenda to that. We're not trying to protect things for the next generation, or we don't have feuds within the family of who gets credit for what. It is, we're obviously associated with the place, whether we work here or not. And we want to be associated with something we're proud of, and that our family would be proud of, and frankly, our community would be proud of. So right now, that's absolutely being a public company. And we did look at going private a few years ago and didn't end up doing that. But our only motivation at that time is to take a look of what a different ownership structure gives a better chance of being the type of company we want to be. And right now, that's being a public company.
Good answer. Here's another one. Many companies have found in the recent year of work from anywhere that not having to be location centric has allowed them to draw from deeper pools of talent, different cities and geographic areas. Nordstrom's is considered to be pretty much Seattle centric. Has this allowed you to be less physically Seattle centric and draw talent from other areas?
It's like someone was sitting in our meeting this week. We were just talking about that. Our headquarters is in Seattle, and that's so for a lot of our jobs, especially big jobs. If someone wants them, they've got to come to Seattle, and Seattle is not the most diverse place, so it's an issue, and it's a subject that we do have some headquarters, smaller headquarters in different cities, but it is something we are actively looking at. And in the last year, there's no doubt has changed that narrative a bit as working remotely has gone better than I think anyone thought it would. We still believe that there's importance in getting together physically, in innovation, in our culture, in people development. But I do think having some balance, we will be well served to not have that always have to be happening in Seattle.
Okay. As the Seattle Rotary Club, we obviously are very focused on Seattle, and homelessness is a big topic to us. One question that came up: will Nordstrom support the Seattle Charter Amendment that requires city government to take meaningful steps to reduce homelessness?
Well, I'll start with just we're for whatever makes Seattle better, and we've got a lot invested in Seattle, and we're involved in a number of ways with organizations, the Downtown Seattle Association. We're part of this Challenge Seattle group. The Challenge Seattle group in particular has been doing a lot of work around homelessness in Seattle, and getting ready to release some information on that. So we will continue to be students and be curious of different solutions. and certainly would expect out of ourselves that we do our part to support solutions to the problems we face.
Okay. Here's an interesting one. Eric, I'm reading it from their question. As Amazon has become a hyperscale e-commerce company, how has your view of them changed over the last 10 years? Has Nordstrom ever partnered with them in the past? And what's the latest from your perspective?
Yeah, we used to, our website started, gosh, I think 1998. We were pretty early, and in the early days, we did partner with Amazon, and then broke off to do our own. I don't, for me, I had a very good friend that had a real big job at Amazon, and we would have lunch about every quarter, and at the beginning, I kind of found it so interesting. He had this little startup he was a part of. And then there was a lunch where we were kind of looking at each other, and I said, we're competitors now. So yeah, there's Amazon, I think, like any categories they participate in, they're the biggest market share gainer in our categories. So do I look at them differently? Sure. They're our biggest, toughest competitor, and they affect so many of the trends that shows up to customers. So yeah, we're always a student of what they're doing.
Hey, just a quick follow on from President Jeff, Eric, does their cloud business give them a somewhat unfair advantage, or do you have a view on whether or not that would level the playing field if those two parts of their business separated?
Oh, I don't know. It's, we use AWS, which it's not my favorite check to write to go to Amazon. I don't know. I do think, I'm a big believer in capitalism. I think, well, it's not perfect and the market's not perfect. The market forces a lot of good can come from that. And that means competition. So I think in general, we all should want competition, and that something becomes too big and too powerful, that there's threats to competition, and ultimately what's good for society that comes from that competition. So whether it's exactly what they do with AWS or not, I don't know. I don't know what they do with it, but I like competition.
That was a big question, splitting them up. Okay, let's go on. I was trying to watch the questions and listen to you, Eric, at the same time. So hopefully you haven't already answered this and I just missed it. But you talked about the fact that 50% of your business now digital. There was a question here. I would love to know how Nordstrom views the future of mobile app integration in the customer journey, especially given all the in-store services in addition to shopping. Post-pandemic, how will we be shopping, using services in person and on our phones?
Well, yeah, mobile is, it's if it's not there already, it is, well, that is the digital experience. That is how most of us spend our time in the digital realm. And some of it is on an app, some of it's just through digital website, a mobile website. So yeah, we need to have functionality there, and there's no doubt there's tremendous opportunities that being able to get information that people have in their hand, and we've seen it for the last number of years of where the majority of our store sales we know come from someone who's actively using a mobile device as part of that store journey. So not only making e-commerce better on a smaller screen, but I think in particular of having functionality that helps connect the physical experience with the digital experiences, it's vital for us.
There's a number of questions that trying to combine them into one here about the mall locations, the shopping mall locations. Are those going to be phased out with more centralized downtown locations, or do they still have a future in your plan?
Oh yeah, it's a huge part of our business. Okay. We have 100 Nordstrom stores. We probably over 90 of them are in malls. So I don't think it's big news that there's too much retail square footage in this country. There's malls closings, there's stores closing, and that'll continue, I think, for the foreseeable future. But the good locations, a Bellevue Square, is that going away? No, it is not going away, and it's certainly, we think, and even pure play e-commerce people, I can't think of an example of an e-commerce player who doesn't believe that physical locations are part of their future as well. Amazon certainly has physical locations and increasing. So I think we've rounded that corner where it is clear the future is both. There'll be some balancing, but it's going to be both e-commerce and physical locations.
Well said. Well said. That leads right into the next question. Somebody brought up about the fact that Sally Jewell, who was then CEO of REI, spoke about 10 years ago, talking about the overbuilt of retail. So it's been a question for a lot of times, but I wanted to segue this into another question for you. There was about 10 years ago, or maybe less, where Nordstrom's was shopping an idea of a smaller footprint store that would be about 6,000, 9,000 square feet, that would provide apparel, but it was to try on and then you would order it. Whatever happened with that idea? Did it sink, or is it still being tested, or are you looking at that?
Yeah, what we've landed on, we have a concept called Nordstrom Local,
Right.
and we have 7 of them now in Los Angeles and New York. They're a little smaller than that. They're 1,000, 1,200 square feet.
Oh, wow.
We don't stock any merchandise in them. They are, think of it as service hubs. Customer can do an alterations, a return, a buy online and pick up location. They can meet a stylist there, and a stylist can bring merchandise in. And it really works as we think in our biggest markets as a neighborhood engagement point that is convenient, but isn't, doesn't have to drive and park to where the big store is. So we have a couple in Manhattan that we opened in conjunction with our flagship store there, and it's been terrific. And you can imagine if you're living on the Upper East Side and you've got a return to do, and returns are a natural part of our business, to have 1,000 square foot physical location where you can do that instead of having to box it up or to try to get to Midtown is very appealing. And it is. And for us, again, it goes to that engagement point I tried to make earlier. We know that even these little stores that really aren't about selling merchandise, we don't stock merchandise. If we can get a customer to go there and engage, they end up being a better customer.
I'm going to stop on that one. That really shows a futuristic thinking of how do you maintain that Nordstrom brand in the digital age and combine it with physical locations. That's very brilliant. That's very forward thinking. I'm going to turn it over to Fiona now, who wanted to share, I believe, poll 1, right, Fiona?
Well, just before we do, I just want to add my thanks again to Erik for being with us today.
Oh.
And